Whoa, we're live. What is happening? Wow.
What's up?
Wow.
Man,
what
that intro, I haven't seen that intro in a while. Reynolds put that together and I love it. It's groovy.
It's super good. Was that the right one? I just randomly selected one.
I don't know, but it said like a live stream every month. And I was like, I don't know if that's true anymore, but I think it is. For bringing it back. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, this is your stream, Burke. What are we doing here? What's happening?
No, this is your stream. It's on your channel.
Oh, it's on everybody's channel. I'm pretty sure. Did we just stream to
channels?
Stream to a thousand?
Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to the stream. Today we're gonna do AI things. Believe it or not. You believe it? You don't believe it? What's up, Thomas? Danilo. Jorge, what's going on?
So I can do that. Look at that. Boom, boom.
Ooh,
look at you go.
Squish. Boom.
Wait,
boom.
Are these people from multiple platforms? Like, is that why
where
your name? Oh no.
They're from everywhere. Everyone's from everywhere all the time, Burke. Oh my goodness. Okay. That's Burke. People are used to the Burke train. Who's the Pi Bog? What's going on?
Bog? What's he doing here?
Yeah, who are you?
On the VS Code team.
Who are we? What are we doing?
Who are we? What are we? Are we live?
We are. I think.
Okay, good. I'll be on my best behavior. Hey, I'm Pierce. I'm somewhat new to the VS Code team as of a couple months ago, so you'll start hearing from me a little bit on the channel, live streams, etc., blog on the VS Code stuff. So keep an eye out for my content. Hopefully, don't get too annoyed with me too quickly. But I try to be extremely online, so you might see me on Twitter, Reddit, YouTube comments, something like that. So definitely add us because I do respond. It's probably terrible for my mental health, but I'm around.
Follow Pierce on Twitter. It's his retirement plan is to make money, get paid.
I'm trying.
I don't even know how you get paid by Twitter. What happens? You just post something and it goes viral and you get a check in the mail. Like, how does that even work?
I don't know. You have to sign up for premium. That's about all I know. And I wanted, when we announced agent mode, I was like, can we do it from my Twitter so that I can get the dollars from the engagement? That would be amazing.
I got this new Lego set. Yeah.
Yeah, my kids need some new toys.
What's up, James? Who are you?
I'm James Montemagno. I showed up on this channel before, not on a live stream, but
yeah, no, you've been here on a live stream, I think, haven't you?
I don't think so. No, you never invited me. I'm not allowed. Basically, you're just like, no.
There's probably a reason for that. I feel like we're about to find out what it is.
Pearson and I've worked together for 13 years. Did you know that? 12 years, something like that. A long time.
I did not know. I did. Yeah. I did know that because Pierce was telling me he was like 14 when he started at Xamarin or something crazy like that. Isn't that true?
I was like 18. I'm 32 now, so I'm still pretty young. But yeah, James and I used to literally drive from city to city and talk about Xamarin and do workshops and fun stuff like that, build apps together. Also driving, we built a mobile app that was like an Uber clone. So we rented a car, we're driving around Boston in the middle of the night trying to test our GPS apps. So yeah, James and I go way back.
Yeah. And I'm over here in the org for our developer community. So mostly a lot of .NET stuff. So a lot of stuff happened on the .NET YouTube, but collaboration with you, Burke, and the whole team on VS Code, the Visual Studio channels, Azure channels, all the things basically. But I'm a .NET developer, tried and true. So I think folks are going to have to stick with us as we see a little bit of C# beauty in my live coding today. I'm not going to lie about it because we're going to do some vibing on some stuff. And also I think what's cool is I was telling Pierce and Burke, I'm doing some conference talks next week in Vegas, and I needed some demos really quick. And I was building some hybrid applications with .NET MAUI, one with Blazor and one with just HTML and JavaScript. And one, that's not my strong suit. My strong suit is native UI elements, C# or XAML markup. That's my strong suit, right? And I'm definitely JavaScript. That's not my jam. Blazor I'm pretty good at because it's more in my world, my wheelhouse, because I'm a client developer. But it was HTML and JavaScript. I was like, I have no idea. And I just went into agent mode and I was like, hey, I want a calculator app. I want the buttons to be fancy. I want it to look really good. Go put it in the www root, just go make it happen. And then I was like, boom, got it. And then I was like, okay, also I want a history and track the history and then make it so when I enter like a number, like it goes away, but then I also can see it in real time. And I was like, cool, I got you. And like literally 30 minutes later, I had 2 full brand new applications from scratch. And like, that's what we're gonna talk about today. And on my YouTube that as well, I've been building out this coffee tracker app because as Pierce knows, Pierce is he needs a coffee spilling tracker app. Maybe there's a checkbox that we add, like did Pierce spill the coffee? But I drink a lot of coffee, roast a lot of coffee, and I've been building out an app from scratch with like databases, like the whole 9 yards as well. So a whole bunch of cool stuff, and I've just been loving it. But there's so many new features, Burke. Like I have no idea what's going on all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
so that was, well, before we did the stream, we are like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, let's jump in and I'll like go through the release notes and show everybody everything that's new. But then before the stream, as we were looking at your app, James, I realized maybe we should just jump in and you start doing the thing. And then as you go along, I'll point out the stuff that's new in agent mode. And that way, people who have never seen agent mode and are like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, will know instead of me jumping into the release notes talking about stuff that people haven't seen before. So let's do that.
You want me to do that? All right, I'm gonna bring.
Yeah, and David says you're old now. Pierce, you're 32. David, I don't know what that makes me, bro. Very extremely old. 32 is old.
I think the fun part here is like what people need to know about me is I'm a button clicker. I'm not a mouse. I'm not a keyboard person. I'm a mouse clicker. That's my jam. Okay.
Wait, what's the word? I'm a mouse clicker. I'm a mouser.
I used to make this joke. So when I moved to Seattle, I worked at a company where we did like DVR hardware and software. And I was the only person on a Windows machine in Visual Studio. Everyone else is in like Vim and Linux machines. They were doing like low level stuff. And I used to make the joke that I could click the mouse faster in Visual Studio to get around than like they could code actively. Like, and that was like decades ago. Now Copilot will write it faster.
Do you think that argument holds up? Really?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so.
Get somebody who's like really in the Vim. We should do this. Like bring this person. I was watching somebody on Twitter the other day doing some like C++ stuff, and it was incredible. I think they were using Vim, and they were just flying. And I was like, that is amazing. And I hope that agents don't take that from us. That was the thought I had. Was, oh no.
As long as
we can't watch Copilot do the thing. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm gonna derail us. Let's look at some code.
I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna put us down in the bottom. Okay, so I got 2 different apps. I want to start with the one that I've been building out from scratch completely. So like I said, I drink a lot of coffee. So I've been adding like a coffee tracker application in here with different groupings. So like I actually have a Ethiopian coffee. I just drank 8 ounces. Boom. Add it to a database. I can click on it. I can edit. I can delete. Inside of here, they're all grouped, right? So if I had another one, like another Ethiopian coffee, let's say another 10 ounces, add it. Boom, right? We get instant updates of coffee consumed. We get the coffee here. I can go in. I can look at stats. I'm using a chart here, a little chart and graph on here so I can see the coffee consumed over my days. And then I also have a way of tracking coffee bags. I haven't added any here, but this allows me to add like the roaster, like the coffee name, origin, some tasting notes, and I can pick like, the coffee level basically and the date and then add that in there too. So that's what I got right now. Okay. And this has been built out, I don't know, maybe like 3 hours, something like that, maybe.
This is a native app, right?
This is the .NET MAUI app. So like if you look at like the code in here, I'm going to pull this down. So this is the .NET MAUI app, and this targets, iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows over here. So I build all my apps in XAML because that's just my jam, right? You can build it all in C# if you wanted to, but I'm just a XAML type of person. But I use like MVVM, all that jazz, So here, for example, in my pages, here's that add coffee page, right? So here I have like entries, editors, borders, things like that, labels, buttons, whatnot. And then the code behind over here, like I have like a service. Here's my coffee service. This is using like a SQLite database, storing it on the device here, pulling it all up. storing, adding, inserting, doing all this stuff here. And then here, if I ran this on Android, it would run on Android, on emulators, on iOS. I could connect it to my Mac and then run it on iOS simulators or devices. And then
So
Windows,
wait, this would run as an iOS app?
Yeah, it could be an iOS app. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like here, if I did like over here, you see that? You see my zooms? You like that?
It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually debug target, and then way up here. Oh, hold on, I gotta move that thing. Boop. Debug target. And then here,
it's probably a keyboard shortcut for this. I think it's F5.
I don't think so. So here, this is going to be like, I can build on Windows. Here's my Android emulators. And then I could like do Mac development as, iOS and Mac development. So I'm on my Windows machine, so I can't really do that right now, but yes. Okay. That's what I got.
So what are we going to do with agent mode? First of all, yeah. What is agent mode? You mentioned you built this in 3 hours, but you didn't say how. When you say you built it, you mean Claude built it, or?
I mean, I told Claude what to do, and then I iterated with Claude. I was like, hey Claude, like here's what I want to do, and here's the things I want to do. I've been using mostly 3.5 Sonnet. I started this I think before 3.7 came out, or the thinking stuff. Ooh, that's cool. 4.5 preview. I don't even know. I've been mostly using 3.5 Sonnet for everything, and I've gone between I've been using the new code completions with the GPT-4o Copilot mode. I've been using edits, agent in both VS Code and Visual Studio. I go back and forth because I'm on Mac and Windows. I'm going back and forth between like Visual Studio Windows and then VS Code Windows. And here I often have like, you can see it in my toolbar down here. Like I have, I think all the things, right? You want all the,
yeah, you got to run them all. You got stable and insiders. What's the inside? What do you like a nightly Visual Studio you can run at the same time?
Yeah, a little preview. Yeah. So
use Zomit for better zooming.
Oh, Zoom It? Yeah. Zoom It is pretty good. I also have Zoom It installed, and you can draw on the window and stuff like that.
Is that what Hanselman uses? I always wonder, like, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah. It's part of sysinternals, but now I think you can just get it from the store. Yeah. So I've been using it fully, all these things, and chat and these other things here. So yeah, I've been going down here. I'm in Insider. Which, by the way, you don't have to be an insider. It's not like a club. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that it's not a club? It's not an exclusive club.
It isn't. Well, it is an exclusive club, but all you have to do to join it is go to code.visualstudio.com/insiders, and you're in. That's it. And then you get all this great stuff. That's important to note. And that your VS Code icon is green and not blue, and that's how you know you're in the right place.
I'm gonna share the code. This code is real. It's on my GitHub. I'm going to post a link. I'm going to send it to like everybody. You can just star that. Just bam. There you go. So look at all the messages. I just send it to everybody. Well, the first thing here is that there's edit and agent, right? And if people don't know, here's how I'm going to describe it. Okay. I also like this. This is, I don't know if people see this. There's chat. There used to be icons. Now they're
this is new. This is a change.
And James, how did you get to this view? Like, how do you open chat and edits if you don't already have it open?
I click this little, so I like to click. So I go here and then
you establish that. Yeah, you like the clicks.
I'm a big clicker.
A lot of clicking. You can also click the keyboard icon over to the side there.
What can I do?
The little icon. Move your cursor. Keep going to the right, up, no, up, right there. No, over, right there.
Oh.
Otherwise, I could have just said like press Control Alt B.
Do you know what I thought these were? I thought this was for Windows for pinning things like, send all VS Code like to one side. That's what I thought that was.
It's for you clickers. That's for you to customize the layout. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's how you open it. It's in we call this the secondary sidebar. It's there by default. Even if you're like James and your sidebar is on the wrong side.
Rude.
It should be on the right, but it's on the left. I won't hold that against you.
This thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. Did people know you can toggle it? We were talking about this. You can say
move it. Yeah.
You can say activity. I want to also show people like how I code. And I'm sure people just
first you click. Yeah.
First I go up here and then I click and then I enter and I say, yeah, activity.
It's so deliberate.
Yeah, it is delivered. I don't know. That's not my jam.
That's the activity bar on the top. Move the sidebar, the whole sidebar. Move sidebar.
No, hold on. I need to move this to the side. Oh, I feel so much better now. Okay,
really?
I move this to the side.
You have more room for activities. No. So go click on your thing again up at the top.
This thing?
We're way off track. Yeah, okay. And just search for sidebar.
Okay, look at all those options.
And then it's like move sidebar, move primary sidebar position. Toggle primary sidebar position. It's like the second from the bottom.
That's terrible.
Bam! What? And now it's on the right side.
I don't know. I don't want that there. No. What?
Yeah, dude, that's a pro tip. Do you know why?
Why?
Well, open your sidebar.
Which sidebar?
Control B. Control B, James. There we go.
Control B. Okay.
But see, like when you do this, your code doesn't move. It's stationary. It doesn't, but if it's on the left.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah, because you keep the chat open all the time. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go back. So before I derailed you.
Okay, let me just put this
UI nonsense.
Okay. Yeah, so here we're in it. I opened it, and then down here, see this? Agent. So edit mode, right, is like all about you define like a working set of files, but it knows about your context. It'll figure it out. And it's kind of like, hey, I want to go do something, right? And like go figure it out. And then it like gives you the code. The difference is like agent mode does that plus. It's like edits plus. That's what I've been kind of describing it to people, because it's sort of like it will make and suggest that plan, start to implement the plan. It'll start to look for like warnings and errors. It can compile the code. It can like add NuGet packages or NPM packages. And then it will like iterate on it and it'll try to like self-heal itself. So for example, like I think I used edit mode for like this like little pop-up here, and see how it's like upset at me. Like this is obsolete. There's no warnings. Like this could have come from edits, but agent mode would have been like, oh, hey, like there's some code I generated. It's not so great. Like, let me just fix it up for you.
Right. Agent mode can see. Pierce, as the PM for Visual Studio Code, how would you describe agent mode?
I think words. So in general, like I think about all of these things as a prompt first way of working. So like rather than me go write code in the editor, I go over here to the secondary sidebar and I say what I want. And that could be super detailed or not. And with edits, the main thing that's going to happen is we're going to write code to your editor, right? Across multiple files if necessary. With agent mode, what we're trying to do is give it even more context from VS Code, right? So you're leaning more into the model and what it can do. So we can execute terminal commands. We can do code-based search. So if we don't have, you mentioned like the working set and this idea of like adding the right files for Copilot to look at. That is not even really necessary with agent mode because we'll go find the right stuff based off a semantic search of your prompt, right? We'll automatically add that context. Like you said, like as we do things, as we execute a terminal command or do other things, like if the terminal command fails, like we'll try to fix that. And so it's kind of continuously iterating versus edits mode, where it's like, okay, here's your prompt, here's the relevant files, here's edits that we need to make across those files. Okay, make those changes. That's kind of edit mode, right? So you're much more in control in terms of like, I just want you to edit files. Whereas with agent mode, you can do a lot more and it'll typically like let it run for a lot longer. Like I've had agent modes run for like 10 minutes. Oh, so if you get like a really big task, it can like, I just say, let it cook, right?
I did this the other day with the app that we're going to do next. I have a web app that I think would be cool to kind of show the different things. But I literally said, hey, I want you to restyle this with like, it's a Blazor app, like with Mud Blazor, which is like material design for Blazor. And that requires like, it rewrote the entire application basically. That took about like half an hour for like from start to finish for it to redo it. And it was magical. Okay, so let me just, can I code?
Yeah, let's do some stuff.
Let's do some code.
So, okay, there's a bunch of errors and warnings here. Like this is what I would do. Okay, I would come in here, I would select this, and then I would right click, and then I would go to Copilot, and I know it's Control I, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm not going to do it. And then I would say, can we use shell displays here? Like I kind of know what I want, but I'm going to do inline. I'm a big inline fan. And we were doing this earlier because there's a warning. Oh, do you see that? It just changed it inline. Is that new? What happened? It didn't even do anything. Is that right? What's going on?
Yeah, so that is right. So this is a kind of new experience. Like you said, you're on Insiders, right? So you're getting literally daily builds. Like as we're merging things into main,
Boom.
we are shipping the next day and you are getting those changes. And so we're making some improvements right now to inline chat. So it's going to use kind of a similar diffing experience as what you get from Copilot edits. So that's exactly what you're seeing now.
Boom. Okay. So now what I would do is I would go to every single different file that I have warnings on. So let's say I like back that out, right? How can I solve all this? See this? See that?
Yeah.
Like I would click on every single one of these and then I would try to solve it by myself.
There's a couple different ways to do this. One of the ways that is you could right click on it on the actual item and say fix using Copilot. You could do that. But in the interest of like doing agentic or edity things, if you go to chat, one of the new things that we added is, as you mentioned, agent mode will look at the problems view, but it doesn't, number one, it doesn't always get all the problems, but in edits doesn't know about the problems view at all. So there's this new problems variable. So if you do the hashtag, what is that? What is this thing called?
It's a pound sign.
Name?
It's a pound sign.
And just look for problems. You're basically passing in, and this is new, so you're passing in all of the context of the problems view into the chat, right? You've just attached it as context for whatever prompt, right? And I assume if you just hit enter, it would just start to fix these things. You probably don't need to say anything else here. We're about to find, are you agent or edit at the moment?
I'm in agent mode. Is that correct?
That's fine. Either way.
It's going to solve it for me here.
Yeah.
Now I picked Claude 3.5.
This is the way. Yeah.
This is the way.
That's the right choice. Yeah. Chat, what's your favorite model? Just curious. What's your go-to? What's your daily driver? I know what mine is. I won't say it out loud. I know what Pierce's is. James appears to be...
It depends what I'm doing, though. Like, for logic stuff, I actually really like the OpenAI models. Like, if I'm brainstorming with Copilot, like, it's really good with that. And for, like, design taste and code, I'm on Claude these days.
So here's what's interesting is that you're seeing sort of the difference between agent mode and edits. Is that you can see edits would have just gone through and made the changes. And if the problems were still there, problems still existed, then they would have still been there, right? And agent mode just iterates. It sees there's problems and it just keeps going, right? And it's just going to iterate until it gets to a point where it's error-free.
Yeah, I want to point that out here is like, so what happened? This is really neat. So it's like, hey, it's using these obsoleted methods, and there's also possible null exceptions. So those are the problems, right? I don't know, it's still doing stuff. And it's going to fix it, and then it made a bunch of edits, and then it made more edits, basically. And it was like, hey, I tried to do it on the window, let me fix it, and it's going to add it on the page. And then it did it. Now it looks like it's all solved.
Are you error-free now?
Looks like I'm error-free.
Yeah,
well, that's
so
cool.
If you were in edits mode, it wouldn't have iterated like this, right? Like it noticed after the initial round, there was still one more error, and then it made another edit and it fixed it. And now it's saying it should be all good now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I just say, now I can review, I guess, all the changes. I could go through this and be like, okay, oh, there's multiple things. Oh, crazy. Whoa. It did a bunch of other stuff too. Oh, crazy. That's neat. It actually changed this code. This is something that's of interest here too. Is it like, what did it do? Oh, wow. It used primary constructors. It used new C# features on there. So here's what's interesting is wow, this is crazy. Okay. Cause I just said problems, right? But the interesting part is that my assumption is there was some like warning or some recommendation that it looked at. And here I've created a public constructor, but if you look at this. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Look at this. The hint about using primary constructor was already properly addressed. So like what it did is when it analyzed this, it was like, hey, there was a hint somewhere. I didn't even know where. I didn't even see it to use the primary constructor. So I had created a constructor, but in C#
must have been the problems. Yeah, it must have been something the compiler was saying
was recommending. So that was just like a pro tip. So here it's actually edited this, used the new C# features of primary constructors and passed it in. Wild.
Dope.
And then it did. This is actually a good way of doing this. Is it did this. Now here's what I want to do. So if we look at this, I want to point out that it copied and pasted the code in two places, right? Because I have these two pop-ups. Okay, watch this. can we update this code to create a helper method to get the page from the window? I have no idea. I'm just gonna go. I'm a big voice to text type of person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Would Pierce use the speech a lot? I know some people really like it. I don't. I generally type just because I like that more.
That's old school, man.
It depends. Like, I think when I'm kind of just like, vibe coding, I'm like, just like, maybe do this or maybe do that. And I'm kind of like rambling over the speech stuff. But if I have something super like fixed I want to do, then I'm probably typing.
Okay, I'm gonna see what
I think I see mostly Claude here from chat in terms of their favorite model. I did see a 4.0, Claude 3.7, 3.7 until it stops working, and then I go 4.0. That's rate limits, Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to stop rate limiting people?
So actually, if you go to the, we'll see if we can post this in the comments, but if you go to the GitHub changelog, we actually posted a new update today where we're adding even more capacity for Claude. Because as we saw in the chat, everybody loves Claude. So we're bringing more Claude online for everyone. So hopefully that addresses some of the rate limiting feedback. I also saw some feedback about like the speed of like, at which we're applying these edits into the editor. That's another big focus for us right now. We're switching to a new model, and already internally we're seeing like much faster apply edits. So that should be improving. If you're on Insiders, like you'll get that rolled out to you at some point very soon.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it just did a bunch of stuff. And here's what I think is fascinating. I think a lot of people ignore this, but this is fascinating. It says, hey, we cleaned up this code. And then also you should probably go update we've updated these methods, and this is for like dry.
Make the code more dry.
Yeah, make it more dry. So don't repeat yourself, which is great. Okay, so here's the other part too. I'm gonna hit keep. I hit keep all the time. I don't know about you, but that's my jam. I'm gonna do one more thing. Okay, we just created that get current page helper method. Can we put that into a new file that a bunch of other pages in the application are using? And can you also like go update any places else in the code that it would be useful? This is how I talk to it. So I don't know how you type. See how like I'm a button clicker, but I'm also a voice. Like,
yes.
That's my jam, right?
Yes.
Those two things don't make sense together though. You should be voice and also keyboard. I don't, it's an inconsistency for me.
I go, but the interesting part I think is if I want to like reference things, right? If I do want to go in and I want to come in and add context, or I want to do things like this, then I obviously come in and I use the
speaking of adding context here, there's something else that's new. If you hit that pound again, like, by the way, chat, like pound is your friend here. Let me show you. Like, I don't know if you know this, James, you can attach like specific symbols as prompts. So that sim right there, if you hit that pound sim, and then it pops up in a menu of all the symbols that you've got, and you can just start searching through and find. Did it do it? I can't. Your magnifier is all I can see.
So magnified. Sim, I'm going to do normal.
Boom. And then you just start looking for a symbol. So type like delete coffee, right? Like, and it's just searching across your code base. So you can just pull out specific functions or classes. So that's super powerful. One we just shipped is, what's the one we just shipped, Pierce?
I don't know. You just put me on the spot. I lost track.
We shipped a bunch of them.
So there is something I want to call out here that's new, based off what you're seeing. If you go away from the pound for a second, and you click the, like, see how we're searching the code base? We have 70 results here, and we're kind of iterating on what we actually need in terms of context to make this edit. So you can actually expand that down now. So you can click that. Yeah. You can see like all the results we have. And so we're doing like a semantic search based off what we think we need on your prompt. If we don't get what we're looking for, we'll do another search. That's what just happened. And then we'll use that to kind of inform the future edits. And so that's like something cool that agent mode is doing that you wouldn't get in regular edits mode.
Oh, that's cool. And then this one, so it redid it again, and now it found 82 results.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and so this is great for like really big code bases where like, maybe things are spread across multiple files and it's unwieldy to manually add them to as context.
Oh, look at that.
Sort of two other things I want to get to here, James. So one of them is, if you go into agent to the chat and do the pound and select folder, then you can pick a specific folder from your project, right? If you just wanted to attach a whole folder. And this is actually more useful in edits than it is in agent mode. So good about figuring out what you want, right?
Yeah.
But you don't get that at like sort of agentic searching behavior in edits. So like, and if it's a subfolder here, Pierce, like this is a thing I want to file. You should be able to like select a folder and then hit slash and then get to the subfolder.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's what I was about to try to do too. I was like, okay, I'm here. And then there's a bunch of folders underneath it, right?
Right, exactly. But you can't see them. Now, if you know what they are and you start typing it here, it'll come up.
Like what happens if you hit more coffee? Yeah.
Oh, there you go. The view models, right? If I'm like, hey, I'm doing all my work in my UI, just put the UI folder in there, basically.
Correct. Right. Because a lot of times it helps if you're trying to scope it.
That's cool.
You know, that it doesn't have to look at the API and your front end to make a front end change.
You know what would be cool? To exclude a folder. Okay, let me tell you why. Is I have, and maybe chat can I'm big, let's get some features into the product. So here, for example, in the, not properties, platforms, where the resources. Yeah. So there's all these resources, right? And then the team put in this Fluent UI CS file. Look at this thing. So there's a bunch of icons, right? It added a bunch of stuff. And I never want it to ever look at this file. Well, I mean, I don't want it to like change any code in this file, right? This is like a static 8,000 line code, right? I would be like, hey, ignore this folder. Can you do that?
Is this a GitHub repo?
Yeah, it's a GitHub repo.
Yeah, so we have like content exclusion. So you can go in your repo settings and actually exclude it there, which is pretty nice. It would be nice to be able to do that. Like, I think we might actually have like a file that you can add.
Yeah, I believe Copilot ignore.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, I want to point out here, it created a brand new file for me, page service. It added it in the correct folder. Now, I didn't tell it to put it into the services folder, but I just did it anyways. And then it updated all the code basically that I needed to do. That's pretty cool.
Pretty neat. Yeah. So one more thing to maybe call out on like the context thing. So like because there's people like James who like to click mouses and like to operate in different ways. There's like 3 different ways you can add context. So you can click that add context button right there, kind of.
Whoa.
Boom.
Beautiful. Look, there's icons. Oh, wow.
Oh, look at these beautiful icons.
A designer made those.
Yes.
Cool.
Wow. You can also do the like hash the pound. I was going to say hashtag pound, but that would be repetitive. Just
they know.
Hashtag thing. They get it. But you can also drag and drop. So like either from your file explorer or from that problems pane you mentioned earlier, you can drag and drop stuff over there.
So you're saying if I was like, hey, I want to, so whenever I do where's my main page view model? So I'm going to drag this in here.
Yep.
Okay. And then I don't have it open anywhere, right? So like, for example, let's say I close everything, right? I'll hit done here. Let me start a new session. Okay. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to done.
Boom.
Is there a history? Can I get a history? No, it's a history chat.
History for chat. Not for edits, but that's something we're working on. We did add a good undo and redo in this last release though.
I want to put this here and then I'll say, when I add a new coffee, can I have a dialog that pops up that has random celebration messages about coffee with cool, different, poems on coffee? Because that's what normally you would add into a coffee application.
Right. You want inspirational quotes. Inspirational quotes.
Like you've done it. Okay. So I could have added a bunch of things, right? So I could have added like all the view models. Like, could I have done?
You can drag a whole folder in. If you just grab the folder.
Oh, that's neat. And you can do that in edits as well, I guess. That's cool. Okay.
Something else that you can do in edits, James, while you're over there, because I actually spend a lot of time in edits. Chat. I don't know about you, but I like edits just because it gives you a little bit more control. It's like agent mode with more control. And but one of the things that agent mode does that I really like is this agentic search. That's like literally the most powerful thing agent mode does. Is it doesn't force you to provide the context. It figures out what it needs on its own. And so you can do that now in edits. There's the pound code base. So pound code base will now do this. Pound code base will now do an agentic search in edit mode. So if you're in edit mode and you want it to use, or chat, this will work in chat too, and you don't want to provide, you want that agent mode experience where like you just figure out the context, hash code base. Pound, what is it? Is it a hashtag?
It's a we're struggling with this right now.
I can't. Everyone would call it a hashtag, but it is a pound symbol officially. Like
Tim
that's the
Hewer is
actual-
here, by the way. I just noticed in the chat. Ask, in honor of Tim, ask Copilot to convert this whole project to Silverlight.
Ooh.
Speaking of chat, there was an interesting comment, like our chat and edit's going to be unified. So admittedly, as a PM, it is a little unwieldy. You know, we're in this secondary sidebar. We have chat, we have edits, we have edit mode, we have agent, like this drop down here. It's kind of like a UX design is my passion moment for us of like, well, it's kind of confusing all these different things. So we are going to try to unify these into like a single UX and make it a little less unwieldy. Because I don't know about you, like sometimes I forget, like I'm in a certain mode. Like I'll be in chat and I'm like, thought I was in the agent mode or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to try to make that better in our next release.
So James, are we building so we can like see some of the?
Yeah, I'm
changes that
actually
you've done?
building. We've written a bunch of code, and now I'm actually going to. So we solved some problems. We added some new features. I didn't look at the code. I just blindly accepted it. I think
Yeah, that's vibe coding. That's literally, isn't that
That's
vibe
vibe
coding, right,
coding.
chat? You just,
Yep. See if it
it's on
compiles.
vibes, right? You're
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, it feels right.
Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna add a coffee. So I have more. I'll do a Kenya in here. Let's do 10 ounces. Add coffee. Whoa, hey, life happens.
Boom.
Coffee helps. One more delicious cup to brighten your day. Oh, thanks. Oh, I like that I had a thanks.
Wait, is that I mean, that's not coming from an AI, right? That's just like a static, like you get the same message every, wait, no, add another coffee. And I want to see if you get, oh, it gave you
It gave me a bunch.
some to choose from.
Yeah. No, it does them randomly. Like I told it to do random, right? So like if I did, let's say like I accidentally drank more Kenya coffee on the 3rd. Boop. Coffee, because adulting is hard. Sip, savor, conquer the day. Thanks.
That sounds like something you'd.
It's
put
like
on
a TJ
sign.
Maxx like sign.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know
and
if
then
you
you
guys
put it
go
in
to
your
TJ
kitchen.
Maxx. Like my mom loves signs like that, like live, laugh, love. You know that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yep. So there's a question here, Pierce, because we're answering all the hard questions. Before the stream, I was like, Pierce, can we ask all the hard questions? He's like, yeah, ask them
Yeah,
all.
let's lean in. Yep. let's do
Okay.
it.
When are we going to let people bring their own model?
Yeah, I think that's something we're looking at right now. Trying to figure out the best way to do it. Like we have a lot of different entry points, right? We have chat, we have edits, we have agent mode, we have completions, we have next edit suggestions, right? And so we're trying to figure out like if we open it up, like how would all that work and making sure that it all works well on whatever model you bring. But we know that like, I know for me, like the model that I pick makes a huge difference on the quality of code that I get. And so we want to give people choice. So that's definitely on a roadmap to try and address is like bring your own model, whether that's like I want to use my own OpenAI or Anthropic or GCP endpoint for a model, or I want to use a local model. That's definitely something we're looking at right now. Extensibility. I saw that in the chat too.
Yeah. And somebody
so-
asked about MCP earlier as well. If you want to just throw all the.
Yeah,
three-letter acronyms.
MCP, for those who don't know, is like a protocol introduced by Anthropic called Model Context Protocol. And it's basically a way for people to plug into what these models do, because like an obvious limitation is like the model can only do what it's trained on, right? And so this is another way to either give the model more context or to let the model take actions, like some of the things you saw inside of the built-in things that we already support in agent mode in VS Code. So we are looking at extensibility, both MCP, and we actually already have some extensibility for Copilot inside of VS Code via our language model API. So like if you're an extension author and you want to like use AI somewhere and the language model is provided by Copilot, you don't have to go stand up your own LLM. You can actually use the LLM that we provide in VS Code. And as long as the user has a Copilot subscription, including Copilot free, it'll work. And then you can also build chat participants. So like what we're looking at now is like that agent mode that we saw earlier. Like you could imagine plugging in other cool things like, hey, I want you to deploy this to the cloud for me, like just figure it out. Like the example I've been using a lot internally is like Stripe. Like with something like agent mode today, I could add the UI code so that I could add payments to my app. But like you can imagine like agent mode also being able to go set up all the payments infrastructure for me just from a prompt in agent mode. So that's also something we're looking at now. Just trying to, it's not really like a question of like, are we going to add extensibility? It's just like making sure that it works well and we nail the model because we don't want to like constantly be shifting the API. So that's something we're looking at now.
Oh, here's a good question. When will this update that we're showing go live?
It is live.
Yeah, I just have
running daily build.
I'm just running daily build. I have like there
now.
There's
I just built something.
There's classic ding ding. Now there's I'm in Insiders. Insiders has agent mode. It has next edit suggestions. It has the new models. What about stable? Mainline blue VS Code. Does it has edits? Does it have next edit suggestions? It has a bunch of stuff. What's going on in there?
Yeah, so we have next edit suggestions, and many of the things you showed off are available in VS Code stable. Agent mode today is only in VS Code Insiders. You used to have to go turn on a setting to use it in Insiders. Now it's on by default, but you do have to click that little like drop down like you did in the prompt thing and change from edit to agent mode. And that setting is sticky, so it will remember once you change. We're trying to get it to stable as quickly as we can, but we want to make sure that when we do that, like obviously the audience is much broader. We want to make sure we're giving everyone a great experience. So thanks for everybody on Insiders who's like giving us feedback, whether that's on Twitter. I saw some people that I've been interacting with on Twitter already in the chat, or filing issues on our repos. Like that's super helpful for us because then that helps us to make sure it's good before we put it in stable.
Okay, I need help. Okay, so I'm here in my code. Now, I use this all the time. Some people are like, hey, I don't want you to generate my commit messages. I only want you to generate my commit messages, okay? Like I never want to,
100% of the time.
I don't want to be typing. Okay, so I generate this. So when you're here, you can type a message. Now this, it refactored and it added random coffee messages. This isn't good enough for me. And I don't know how to do this in Visual Studio Code. In Visual Studio on Windows, the purple Visual Studio, like there's a box that I can enter the prompt that I want. Like, how do I change? I want this to have emojis and I want it to list different things. How do I change that?
What a great segue to another important topic, custom instructions. Yeah, so go to your settings.
Settings, and then settings. I think there's I believe that is. Okay, I realize that it is currently control comma.
It's control comma, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna memorize that in my brain. Okay, so I'm going to. I can look at this. Ooh, that's
nice.
Cool. Ooh, that's cool. What? Whoa, that's cool. Okay, I'm going to use that all the time. That's so good. Okay.
All right, and now search for what you're looking for here is something called custom instructions. And I feel like I should let Pierce explain custom instructions. He's going to do it better than I will.
Yeah, it's basically like a way to personalize your interactions with the model. So there's certain things you want to make sure are always happening on every single interaction. Like that could be like, I just want you to generate these types of things, use this style. Here's things you should know about my code. You can use instructions for that. And that's attached on every interaction with the model. And so we have like instructions as a general concept, but you can see in here as you're scrolling through this, like there's also ways to say, well, I want custom instructions for specific things like generating tests or commit messages.
Okay.
So there you go.
I do edit in settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
is scary.
I am very uncomfortable right now. Okay.
Would it be better if it was XML? Should we change the settings to be XML based? Would you like that more?
XAML settings.
You know me. I'm a GUI guy. Give me a box to enter it in. I'm in. Okay.
So here you can pick if you want to point it at a specific file, but you can just do text as well.
Okay.
And then just tell it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I can just, okay. I'm not that uncomfortable now. Okay. That was cool that it gave me IntelliSense. Ooh. Okay. No, I'm just going to tell
quite what you want.
I'm going to say, give a multiple sentence overview of the change. Oh, there you go. Okay. And then give me a bullet list with emoji of the top features and also sign off mots at the end. How's that sound?
Really good. By the way, I noticed you were correcting some spelling mistakes. I generally am curious, Chad, do you also correct your spelling mistakes? One of the things that I've noticed about LLMs is that they are incredibly good at dealing with spelling mistakes. Like crazy good at dealing with transposed characters.
I actually, because I do a lot of voice to text and it does a pretty good job, but it's not perfect. And I've found out that it knows it.
Yeah, it knows what you're doing anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to also point out here in my settings, where I didn't have to come into here. There is settings here. So if you did like next edit suggestions, that's in preview. You got to turn that on. NES, that's there.
Yep.
And then also, if you go into here, there's also a button. I'm a big fan of buttons. You can do change completions model. Look at that. You don't even have to go into the settings. It's there. And this is the one you want. That's good. Yeah.
Lay out for a second and let me talk about these settings. So like next edit suggestions, I mentioned prompt first, and I also think there's like another big cohort of developers editor first. And of course you use both, right? But like maybe you have a dominant style, and we have stuff for kind of both audiences with our latest release. So next edit suggestions, like you can imagine, traditional ghost text completion that you were getting just a second ago as you were writing that commit or writing that custom instruction for commit messages, like that's just suggesting, that's exactly this. It's suggesting your next change. So when next edit suggestion does, hopefully it's very self-explanatory. It's like trying to figure out after this change, what would be the next change you would make? So it's kind of predicting your next thought, both the location and the editor you have open, but also the content of that edit.
Okay, so like if I went into, for example, let's say a model, this would be a good example. I have a coffee. Yeah, that's not a good example. That's also not a good example. It has to be in the same file. Or it could be across.
This one might be an okay one. Like if you added a new mode, then it should also just suggest a description, like attribute.
Okay. So if I go here and I go Pierce's style.
Yep.
Then I wait.
Should kick in. This is why it's a preview, right?
Oh,
waiting for your comma. There you go.
Okay, it doesn't want to cooperate. But yeah, so basically, like we're looking at the kind of your history of edits here, and we're using that kind of history and also the current context to determine like where would be the next place.
Okay, so if I did, let's see what this one do. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I passed in a setting service into the constructor. Yep. It's like, hey, go do that.
Yep, and you can also just use tab as well to kind of navigate to it and then accept the suggestion.
You're saying I don't have to click a button.
You don't. I know you're scared of the buttons, James, but you don't have to click buttons.
Do the little wiggle?
Did you see the wiggle? Yeah, that's new
too. That was a nice little animation. Like, look at that. That's some visual polish. Yeah. So next edit suggestions, that actually is in stable as well. So if you are using stable, you can also use that feature. And then for code completions, like you called out that new model, right?
Yeah.
This is like the biggest model upgrade we've had to completion since we launched the product. So this is actually a model that we built internally here at Microsoft. And it's much faster than the old completions model. And also it's going to give you better contextual suggestions. So depending on what you're working on. So it does much better with C#, for example.
Nice.
So if you're a C# developer, you definitely should be opting into using that model.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So one of the things I learned working on that launch was that apparently all LLMs really can generate code. Right. But they're only trained on actually between 2 to 5 languages. So they only really know between 2 to 5 languages. And the rest of them, they're just really, really good at guessing. Right. Yep. Which is why if you're using them with a language like Rust or maybe like Flutter or something like that, like they're not as accurate. But this model is actually trained on 30 plus languages. So it's actually proficient. It's not guessing. It knows.
Okay.
So that's like the big differentiator there.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, if I did like, let's say I did, let's do like a public observable collection. Cool. And then I have chart data 3. That's good. Okay. So then if I did like, clear, and then it kind of knows what I want it to kind of do, but say I did like var. So yeah, it's kind of like just giving me full completions all up for all of it, basically.
Correct.
Oh, there's a next edit suggestion right there.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. So like it looked ahead and it was like, hey, this is probably what you want to do, right?
Essentially,
exactly.
It's predicting your next move.
Yeah.
And
I
it
like
does
that.
work better like with edits that are closer to your cursor today. We're trying to make it work better with far away edits, but it will do better like typically when your cursor is kind of near the next change that you need to make. So sometimes even if you're like even if you like add something at the top of the file and you need something later, if you like click down lower in the file, then it will kind of recompute the next change thing and it may suggest something better. So that's a good tip if you're not getting a suggestion. Obviously, I would prefer it just to suggest it, but it's still faster than me having to go type it out, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested here. So if I did like int or bool spilled, right, it's going to do false. And this is just like code completion that's coming in, right?
Yeah, this is just regular ghost text completion. There you go. And so
there we
now
go.
it's like, well, okay, you need to add a property for this, and you need to, hopefully it'll also suggest it. Like if you click down into the constructor.
Oh, okay. Oh,
this
I
is
see.
what I'm saying. Yeah. So we do a much better, we're computing it based off your cursor location. So
I see. That makes sense. Wherever I'm putting that. So what people maybe didn't see, and I didn't know this, so I just learned this. Okay, so I did that spilled, right? And then naturally I might come up here. Oh, what? Dude, that's way better.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. Like sometimes it helps to move your cursor to kind of generally where you might want it, and then you can just tab along. So the reason this actually happens, like a little inside baseball for everyone on the stream, we could send everything, right? We could just ship this whole file to the model. But imagine your file is like hundreds of lines long, like then it gets very slow. And so there's a trade-off here between the quality of these next edit suggestions and like how far away we can actually give them from your current cursor and latency, right? And so we're trying to like one of the things we want to dial in and preview is like, how do we give you a super fast next edit suggestion, but also something that's like accurate? And so that's where we're kind of, playing around with this a little bit. But one thing you can do to manually trigger NES is just move your cursor like you did.
That's cool. All right. Let me go see. I can regenerate it. We got our okay. Ooh. Look at
there
that.
You go.
And it signed off mods. Committing that. Always, yes. And then let's do I'm gonna publish the branch. We're doing it live. And then I'm gonna do a PR. Okay, so I think one thing that is neat. So if I do how do I pull request? Where's my I don't
an
have
icon. Do you have GitHub pull request and issues installed?
Oh no. Okay, so I need to pull request.
GHPRI.
Ooh, look at that. It figured it out. Pre-release? Of course. Tyrell. Okay, so I did. Oh, thank goodness. I was like, where's the button at? Okay, so I do the pull request. Now, here's what I've noticed is that I'll zoom out a little bit. So it pre-fills because I only had one commit, right? And it just like did it for me automatically. But I would want to generate it again, right? Because it's a pull request. That's the commit. And then it did it as well. So, but I can customize that as well too, right?
Correct. Okay. I believe. Do we have pull request customization instructions? Settings? I said yes, but I'm actually not sure. Let me check.
Instructions? I'll just check. I'm doing it live.
Yeah, but I can get there faster because I'm using the keyboard.
Nope. I'm
there you go.
I'm there. Text.
Dang it. You did beat me. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're faster than this guy on Twitter.
Do make the title brief, but then give me 2 sentences and a grid of changes in Markdown of all the files with emoji and descriptions. Dude, can it do that?
I've got.
Let's find
great
out.
thing about AI is no one knows. Sure, why not?
It totally did.
Whoa! Look at that.
It's beautiful. See, that's what I'm talking about. Create.
Can you preview from here? I don't guess you can you?
No, I wish you could. That's a good suggestion.
So one thing I didn't do. Oh, see, I messed it up. Can I go back? Oh, I can't do it. Can I didn't do a code review. You know what I mean? Like I could come in here and I could add like Copilot, I think. I think I have to do it on the web. Let me open it on the web. Boop.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it will still do it for you. Yeah, it's already there. We just request a review.
Cool.
That's actually, you should be able to kick that off from VS Code. That's a good feature request.
It almost did it. Look, it's like, it's pretty
close. What happened there? That's proper Markdown, isn't it?
Too many new lines. It was 2.
Oh.
Anyways, I'd fix the prompt then, but look at that. Now we're talking. So if I'm over here, I can't see. I messed up, folks. I messed up. let's say I did do a bool Pierce spilled it.
I already spelled something, so it needs to be true as the default.
And then I go here, boom. I go here, boom. Okay, so let's say I do this, and I can only do a review on a pull request. I can't do it on a commit, right?
No, you can do a code review at any time, can't you?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah,
I can?
Yeah. Just code review.
Code
For code review.
Hold on. This one? Oh, review and comment?
Yeah.
No, pull request. Focus on pull request. This one?
No, review and comment. Yeah.
Oh, it's like on the change.
You want it to review. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So this is now going to review the changes that I made in this file, basically, because it knows the changes here.
I have no idea.
there was. Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, it's probably going to do. Actually, ooh, interesting. I wonder if like
that must have come in from the server. Did that come in from the server? Because you did request a review. It's in progress.
Yeah. Oh, it did. It did. It was like, here, you need to do these things. It might have. That's the PR.
No, you do those things. You wrote it. You do it.
You do it. Okay. Well, I'm going to undo those changes because Pierce didn't spill it. But I was just saying, what I missed out on is that I commit code like too fast, and there's a big button that says review the code. And what I've wanted to do, and this is a feature request, is come into the PR and then say review this. Like there's no button to do it. You can only do it at time of PR. I think. Yeah. I don't know.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that's a good request.
It's a good request. Okay. Let's do something real crazy. Okay. I'm going to close this app because we made a bunch of changes on it. But I have another app. Okay. I know what you're thinking, James. How many apps do you have? I got all the apps. So this is an app that I've been working on. And this is at the start of the demo that I'm doing at this keynote at VS Live next week. And this is a very simple app. It uses a .NET API backend, a Blazor front end. It uses .NET Aspire to orchestrate everything. So we can see I have like a Redis cache here. Let me go back to VS Code. I have a Redis cache. It's persisting it. So it's running in Docker, pulls it down. I have a backend that's using Redis. I have a front end that's using the products API. And if I pull this up, boop, everything's running in this dashboard. I can go tap on this. It's beautiful. Go into my products, get everything back. Now this Aspire dashboard gives me like open telemetry, all this stuff, right? Super nice. If I refresh this, it's cool. This should be using like some Redis cache now at this point. There we go. So it's like use the cache automatically to pull that back, which is super cool. I get metrics, I get telemetry, I get all that good stuff. I'm just showing off .NET features, at the end of the day. Okay, cool. So let's say though that I have this and this looks bad. Now I want to do this though. If I go over to like github.com/.net/eshop, okay, this is like the big sample. This is like the big crazy sample that's here, right? So I want those products to look like this. So I'm going to snip, big snip person. Boop. Okay. And I'm going to save this somewhere. Downloads folder. That sounds cool. Who knows what's in there? Okay. So here's what I want to do. Can I do this in agent mode? Does this work? I don't know, but I want to.
You'll need to change your model though.
To 3.5?
4.0.
No, 3.5 works.
Oh, we don't have it vision rolled out to 3.5 yet. We're working on that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. It will work for you because you're internal. This is one of those fun ones.
I want to point out that this was new. There was add context. Pasta. There was paste from clipboard. I don't know where it is, or I must have already pasted it. Because it already has it. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it already has it. You can also just copy paste. Like if your cursor's in there, just Control V. I know you hate or right click paste since you like your mouse.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, Control C, Control V, Control X. Those are okay. You can use. That's the only those
are approved shortcuts.
AWSD and then spacebar. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let's make the product page items look more like this with cool hover effects. Actually, Burke, didn't you say I could just tell it to make the products look pretty and then it would just do it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You can use words like beautiful or modern.
It's so funny because Burke and I were laughing about this yesterday. Like,
And
I
modern.
literally have a custom instruction that just like make every UI you generate beautiful because I'm not a designer. And it's the stupidest thing, but it makes such a massive difference on how pretty the code it generates is.
Okay, so it knows this image, and I randomly gave it the context of this code that I randomly selected. But that doesn't matter because Pierce told me that it's going to search everything in my app.
Yep.
There
And
it
you
is.
can see here, it's like coming up with a search query, and then it's doing a semantic search.
Now, do you think because I am Microsoft employee that it is using this image and it's going to like use that and like think that it's going to do that?
Yeah, it should work for you. For everyone else, we're trying to get it rolled out to vision to all models. Right now, you'll probably only experience vision support in GPT-4o.
Wow.
And then speaking of models, there's another comment in the chat, like, when are you going to get all of these preview labels off things like Claude 3.5 Sonnet?
Yeah.
That's like a top priority for our team as well. So we're trying to get the preview labels removed as quickly as we can.
Okay, so it did a bunch of stuff. Oh, see, and I knew it was going to do. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does. Okay, so it's got all this stuff in here. That was some errors. What's it going to do? Problems or pause? Oh, okay. It's fixing itself. It's doing something. I don't know what it's doing.
I don't even know we did that. Like, when we're actually fixing the problem, say we're fixing the problem in the problem view. That's nice.
Oh, it rewrote a bunch of, I don't know what it did. It rewrote a bunch of code. That's for sure. So it's self-healing here. That's what's happening basically, is it's going through and it is now.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is, if you were in just regular edits mode, it would have made the edit, it would have had a problem, and then you would have had to have manually intervened and been like, please fix this. But in agent mode, it's just kind of iterating over its own output and the problems. And it's getting all this from the language server right now. But it could do the same if like you had a failed terminal command, like if your build failed or something, if you didn't even look at problems and you just ran a build command, it could do the same thing.
Okay, yeah. I've had it sometimes where like was like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's okay. And then I'll just like stop it, rerun, and then tell it to go do its thing. Okay, so look like it's getting closer.
By the way, there's a question here about, is the code base indexed into a local vector DB?
Yeah, so
I think so.
We do some local indexing, but we also, if your code is in a GitHub repository, we also leverage like some code search capabilities we have for GitHub repositories as well. So that's like a nice thing. We're kind of doing a hybrid search between semantic and lexical search, like locally, but if it's in a GitHub repo, we can also leverage some remote results as well.
I have a question for you. So it does this thing where it is scanning the code, right? Now, if I didn't have this open, it wouldn't be like scanning it or doing something. If I had like switched over here, right? It's like, does it have to like do that? Like, why does it do this thing where it goes from top to bottom? Can you explain that to me, Pierce?
Yeah, so we're basically, you know how like, just like when you go into ChatGPT or any AI product, you know how the changes are streamed in real time? Like, you don't wait for the entire response to come back from the model before you print to the window in most AI products, right? So basically what's happening is we're talking to the model and we're getting tokens in real time back from the model. And as we get those, we're writing them to the editor. And so that's kind of the experience you see here, where like kind of similar to you would do in ChatGPT, is like it's streaming in the response to your question. Like the same thing's happening with code, and it's streaming in the response. And then we're basically in real time applying like our diff view here. And this is the thing that I called out, that actually this model that we're using for this is something that over the next 30 days, if you're on Insiders, we're making more improvements. So you should see much faster kind of endpoints for fast apply here.
I see. I think I'm going to help it.
Yeah, okay. And sometimes I notice it going down like a bad path, and I'll just like be like, I don't like where you're going, and I'll just end the session and start a new one. Because the problem with, like, if you were to go into a prompts view right here, this is true for all AI products. Like if you were going to go into prompts right now, like you're going to get the history of all of the bad changes it made also sent up with the model, which is
Mm.
generally a good thing to send the past history because it is useful context. But like if you send past history that's not good, then it could lead it down the wrong path. You can also go undo here, James. Like we have undo over in the Copilot edits window.
I'm gonna
If
see
you
what
wanted to
builds.
reset your state.
Okay, so you're saying I could this button up here, this undo.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And we are working on like checkpoints. I kind of like this idea of checkpoints where you can like kind of go back to a previous state
Oh.
within an agent mode session. So that's something we're working on. Yeah. So this is just kind of going back task by task, and you can see it's being removed from the
This,
Okay,
and this
cool.
is new. It goes back file by file now instead of just taking out the whole. So it's incremental. I don't know what y'all do, but when I'm using agent mode, if I get to a point where I'm like, whoa, we're way off track here. Like 4 iterations ago, I need to back up. I just go back up to the chat and just close. I just remove, and it will actually warn you and say like, yo, if you remove this, it's going to revert the state back. Is that what you want? Like, yeah. That's exactly what I want.
I'm just gonna double check to make sure everything's running again over here. I'm gonna try it one more time too. So yeah, in that instance, I think it was trying to do what I wanted it to do, but I don't know because I was just like, just make it pretty, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, that'll totally.
But I think it's like an interesting thing because like people have different styles and how they partner with the AI. So like you were kind of vibe coding there, right? And that works a lot, but the model does much better if you provide it more structure. But sometimes vibe coding works, and like I'll do that. So it's kind of interesting because the style you pick has like implications on the quality of results you get back.
Yeah. So how I would do it is I would do this. I would say I would probably do this. This is how I would code. I'd say like, let's make the product list look like this image in a grid with hover effects, and add CSS to a razor.css file. Like that's probably what I would do because there's no like CSS file associated with this right now. So let's see if it does it now that I've given it more context of exactly what I want it to do with the image.
While we're waiting on that, somebody's asking about some tamed craziness, talking about when will we fix like the and errors, like when it's. I assume you're talking about like if you're. So I actually found this as a bug the other day. If you're in VS Code and you don't have a default integrated terminal set, what will happen is it doesn't know what your terminal is. So it's like PowerShell. It'll just select it. It will suggest Unix or Linux commands will just fail. So in the meantime, go into your settings and set your integrated terminal to be PowerShell or whatever it is. If it's not like Bash, and that'll fix that. If that's what you're talking about.
Bugs like that you report, like if you're on Insiders, those are the types of things that like it's possible like they might be fixed the next day after you report them.
Yeah.
So definitely please report them on the repos because we triage those daily and fix those bugs, and then we ship every day on Insiders, so it'll get picked up.
So let's see if it did it or not. I feel like this is maybe my machine being slow and like not updating like the output here. So let's see if I'm going to go back to like the first thing that it did. Like this is like the first edit. Let me just see if it compiles, like runs. Because it updated all this for me. And I have a product service. So let me go and like run this thing. Let's see if it runs. Oh, I should probably keep these changes. Perfect. Okay.
Is there a best practice on hitting keep or done, Pierce? Like,
yeah, I hit
what's
keep
our
all the
recommendation
time.
then?
I think done is when you want to end the session fully.
Pierce is on mute, I think.
Classic.
I mean, classic.
No.
Like I started responding and I was on mute. Did it do it?
Yeah, it did. It's fine. It's perfect.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You know, I got this question on Twitter the other day. I think honestly, like I try to start a new thread anytime I like finish like a logical thought. So like, okay, you finished adding this. If there was any other adjustments you wanted to make to like this, then I wouldn't like click done and start a new thread, right? But if I was kind of done and I'm like, okay, well now I'm gonna go add a new view or something like that, then I'd start a new thread. Because basically like when you start a new thread, right, like you don't have all the history of the previous edits that were made, which is good and bad, right? It depends on like if you're continuing on something that needs that context, or if you're starting on something brand new where that context might actually lead it down the wrong path.
Yeah. So for example, like in this case, I'm going to hit done because I've done this.
Yeah.
And now
I don't like how we literally start a new thread though. That's, I think, something that I think we should like not, because then you can't go back to it because we don't have history. So that's something we need to do better.
So I want to do, let me try something really interesting. Okay. So I'm going to say, I would like to update the store application here, and I want to add a new admin portal, and I want it to be in part of the navigation, and I want to be able to log in with like a simple password. And then I'd also like to, I don't know, be able to add, edit, and delete products from the list. Okay, so this is like a bigger task. So I think like one thing that I was doing with like that coffee application is I started from scratch, and then I was adding pages, adding view models, working with Copilot, right, and working through things. And this is sort of like the type of prompt that I would give it. Is I would be like, hey, like I want to add this type of new functionality, right? This is a whole new system, portal pages, product management functionality to it, and like I just kind of see what happens, right? It knows that it's a Blazor app, and it's going to figure it out, right? And it's a .NET 9.1.2. So now it's just going to go. So I think this is one of the contexts where you were saying, Pierce, earlier, is like, it's just going to do its thing, right?
Yeah, you just let it cook. And this is like a full-on vibe coding approach, right? Like you just kind of are like, this is kind of what I want to happen. Like you're trusting the model to figure out like things like the architecture and things like that. At some point, Burke, I should do either a live stream or a video or a blog on kind of my spec-driven workflow, because I have a workflow that's a little bit more prescriptive than this. So like I'll actually go into something like chat. I'll brainstorm a bit with the model, like using maybe like one of the reasoning models. I'll like come up with requirements and a technical implementation. And then I just basically copy pasta that into agent mode and say like, make this happen. Right. And so it's a bit more of a structured approach. So that's why I say it's kind of interesting, like watching other people code, because everyone has a different style in how they partner with the AI. Like some people are like very like vibes based, like you are here. And some people are like, I want more structure. And it just kind of depends on your style.
Can I use edits and chat at the same time?
It should work, yeah.
I've never tried that.
And you can also open chat in the editor, which you can't do for edits, but I wish you can. If you click those triple dots at the top, like if you wanted to brainstorm the whole thing, yeah, open chat in editor.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So ask that again. Like you can just do the up arrow. Do the up arrow. Nope, you don't have to copy paste. Up arrow. Boom. And it's gonna click this rerun without, because it's auto mapping to the workspace, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so now your edit mode, your agent mode thing is going. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I actually really like coming in to kind of set the Copilot chat as my editor and kind of brainstorm for a moment. Like, so you're asking like an implementation, but like I might even say like, what are some important features an admin might want like for this thing, and like kind of iterate on the actual like functional requirements as well.
It's like what are the best practices for like authentication in a Blazor app, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Yeah.
And then the interesting thing is you're kind of also helping the model think, right? And so you can take this and then put it back into something like agent mode, right? So, you know, there are thinking models. So like you saw, like when you're using the model drop down a second ago, like there's Claude 3.7 Sonnet thinking. Yeah, so that's actually gonna like, that's an even more like level up mode on like making sure that it's really thinking through the right things to do. We don't have that in agent mode because thinking like can cause some problems, but around tool calling and stuff like that, and it's slower. But for things like brainstorming, it's really useful.
That's cool. And I want to point out here, like the edits doesn't have the history, but then there's histories
the
here.
Chat
of all
does.
the
Yeah,
chat
you
does,
can go back through. Yeah. And like I said, like that's kind of a point in time thing. Like obviously we want to add history to edits. Like that's a useful feature. So that's definitely something we're working on addressing.
So it's cooking, like you said. It's just like doing its thing. It's modified 7 files. I think it's added a bunch of new files as well.
Yeah.
Into here.
Yeah, I mean, I have like a demo. Like I said, I really need to do a blog or something on this where I'm building out like a water tracking app, like kind of similar to a coffee app, but for tracking my water consumption. And I have like a super long kind of plan that I built out, like 13 steps or something like that, that I built out from a brainstorm. And then I pass that into agent mode. I think I literally like let it run for 20 minutes and came back and it was still working, right? Request for opening either the chat or the edits in a new window. I think that's a great thing. Like I would love to have, I mean, honestly, I like will just ask chat things also unrelated to my project quite often. So being able to pop that out as like a separate window would be nice. So I agree with that feedback.
So one of the questions here, Pierce, is like another inside baseball thing. It's like, how do token limits work with agents? Especially as the context window grows, right? Like let's look at the whole conversation. At some point, isn't this just massive? Like, how does this all work?
Yeah. So basically when you prompt something, right, we send the prompt, and then we may also send other things like relevant files, other context we find, past conversation history if you're in a thread, and we send that up to the model. And every model has differing context windows, so the amount of tokens we can pass in. And so we try to utilize those things effectively. And what I mean by that is like, you would think like, when I first started learning about this stuff, I was like, well, if you just throw more context at it, it does a better job. But that actually isn't always true, right? Because then you're just giving it more things that could possibly mess up on. And so there's kind of this fine balance of like sending the right relevant context, but not just sending everything. And so that's something we try to do with like agent mode and things like that in the product, is like manage your context appropriately. But that's kind of like why I was saying, if you see the model going down this really kind of bad path, honestly, the best thing to do is to start a new thread, because you're kind of resetting that context for the model, and we're not shipping up the past conversation history. And so it can help it to kind of rethink from first principles what it should do. So it's kind of complex, and it's different for every model, but that's something, to be aware of. The other thing is, for the thinking models, like they also have thinking tokens, right? So they're thinking before they actually produce a response for you. And that's also kind of varies depending on the model. But one thing we want to do is show you the thinking process, kind of like the ChatGPT app does. So that's something we're going to try to roll out at some point here soon if you're using one of the thinking-based models.
Okay, so it looks like there's some errors here in my code.
Yeah, you got some errors. So one of the things there on the context as well, chat, is that over there in the bottom right-hand corner, I know, James, it's like trying to do work and we're... But
no,
just
you
below,
guys talk. I'm vibe coding over here.
Yeah, you're vibing. You keep vibing. So if you go down,
Oh.
James, take your giant mouse cursor. Why is that thing so big?
So everyone can see it.
Oh, okay. Is that like how'd you do that?
So you can do like mouse pointer size, and then you can like just
make crank it all the way up. How big will it get?
And then you can also do different colors.
Can you do that on Mac or only on Windows? You have to install an app for that on Mac?
I think on Mac you have to install an app, but yeah, I usually do like 3, and then usually orange.
Is this like a power toy or it's built in?
Just built into Windows, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Can you make your mouse your face?
Yeah.
Can you add an image as the mouse? Can you make it like James's face as the mouse? That would be amazing.
I don't think so, no.
We need to tell Clint to make a power toy for that.
Yeah, great, yeah. I was adding a power toy because I want to be like the first person to add a contrib to power toys, all generated by AI. All right, so down there in the right-hand corner, James, there's a Copilot face.
This one.
Yeah, and if you're a free user, when you click on that, you'll now see your usage here, right? So you'll know how close you are to hitting the limits, since free users are capped, which is really nice. Yeah.
Gotcha. But I'm a pro, so I don't see it.
You don't see it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice though.
But it's nice because like one of the common feedbacks we got after we launched the free plan is like, well, how do I actually know where I'm at relative to like the quotas that we have for our free plans? So we give you more visibility now, which is a nice touch, like Burke said.
I think I turned on something. Now my VS Code, whenever I click on something, it's making sounds. What's happening here? You guys can't hear it, but I click on this, it goes,
you turn on
did I do something?
Yeah, they're called it's an accessibility thing. It's called
I must have it says Extreme Reader. Do you want to enable? Oh, I'll say no. Okay. Whoa. Interesting.
All right. So it looks like we're down to some warnings now. The errors have been iterated away, maybe.
We're gonna see. I'm interested.
So there's like another interesting kind of prompt strategy thing here, right? The bigger like task you give it, like that is good and bad, right? because we're letting agent mode cook right now. We're leaning into the vibes. But like if you broke this up into different tasks, it might have, you're having checkpoints of like, okay, you added like the API, okay, you added the UI, right? Like it might do a slightly better job, right? Because then you're kind of giving it a focused task. I actually have custom instructions for this. Like if I give you a task that is like too big, please break it up and like confirm with me like you think this is the right course of action.
That's cool.
It's a pretty useful prompt. Like for the like really long multi-step implementations, I like doing that because then the model is basically giving you a chance to weigh in if it's going off track, right? Whereas with this, like there's no way really besides stopping this and prompting again to be like, no, I don't like what you're doing here. Please do something else, right?
Yeah.
I make this mistake all the time, which is where I just keep going and keep going. I'm not committing. And then at some point, I'm like, oh no, I need to roll back. But I don't know where to roll back to. And if I had a commit, it would just be so much easier. So I feel like that's just like as devs, we got to adopt these new practices. And that's one of them. It's just don't just vibe. Although maybe the agent could like commit at some point for you.
That's what I was thinking. Like I wonder like if we could like, be over aggressive, like almost create like a shadow Git repository or even use your actual one. And like after each thing, we're just pushing a new commit basically. That would be an interesting approach.
Yeah, Mark said he vibe coded into rate limits before. You get to know. By the way, if y'all do hit the rate limits, you do know that if you just change the model, you can keep going. Y'all know that, right?
Yeah, those are per model. And for those of you who joined a little later in the stream, I called out at the beginning, if you're a Claude person and you're hitting rate limits, like we're trying to do everything we can. People love the Claudes. What can I say? We're trying to bring more capacity online so that we can actually handle all the people who love their Claude. So we posted an update on the GitHub changelog blog today about that.
That's cool. And yeah, what's interesting about this too is like the other day when I ran through this demo, it was kind of like one shot. Like whatever prompt I gave it, it was like, cool, let's do it. And it just like ran completely, right? So now I'm kind of running into the situation where it, was almost right the first time. And then it kind of like was doing its thing and iterating on it. So that's where I'm trying to fix up and kind of go into the code a little bit and say, okay, like what's going on here? And I think also like the problems and the things that are coming in like aren't necessarily, that could be a Tim Hewer fix situation.
What does that mean?
I don't
even know what that means.
A lot of Tim call outs today.
Yeah, no kidding.
Stream.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to
get
you got to get a Tim in there, and then he can solve it for us all up.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because it's like, well, the model is only iterating on the quality of the problem details that it's getting back, as well as like the build output potentially. So if that stuff is not as verbose as it could be, then maybe the model does a worse job.
Well, it ran. So
this is the Aspire portal thing. I'm still kind of new and catching up with all the .NET stuff.
Yeah, so this is .NET Aspire. So basically inside my app over here, okay, I have like a few projects. This is with the C# dev kit. So I get this nice little solution explorer. I still have my files. They're down here. Don't worry. But like .NET developers, we love like solution explorer files. And I can see like my dependencies and NuGets and frameworks and all that stuff, which is cool. So I have a products backend, a store front end, and then I have these service defaults that get added to all the projects. So like open telemetry, health check, service discovery, resiliency, things like that automatically, which are really cool. And then you have the app host. So instead of like doing multiple like launch JSON that like launches all the different projects and does all the things, the app host helps you orchestrate all that together and third-party integrations, like in this case, Redis cache, right? So I have a Redis cache, I have Redis commander, I have like lifetime persistent. So it'll stay up when I stop my app. And then I'm basically saying, hey, orchestrate instead of, doing like a, let's say a Docker Compose file, you're doing it in code. So you're saying, hey, this project products is my API. It's going to use Redis, wait for it to start up. And then also I have a store front end that's going to use the API, wait for it to start up. So it'll kind of do this chain.
Interesting.
And then if the container isn't downloaded in Docker or Podman, it'll download that container image, start up for you automatically. And then it'll wait to start the back end for Redis to start, and then the front end for the back end to start automatically on your machine, which is cool. Yeah.
So that portal thing you got, like that just built in?
it's automatically with the app host. It's like, boom.
Oh,
And then
that's
this
neat.
gives you logs, right? So here's all my things. I have logs. So like, here's the Redis log, right? Boom. In here,
Yeah.
which is nice. Here's the Redis commander. Here's the store that started up. You have structured logs, so you could see what's going on. You could filter by resource or levels. And then there's traces. So if I tap on this, we got products, right? So because it's using open telemetry, that's interesting, a lot of things. Okay. It get these stack traces,
Oh,
these
interesting.
traces. Yeah.
That's nice.
And then here you can see it popped in automatically. It has the Redis stuff. So it was just pulling that from Redis. Okay. I'm going to go to admin. I got to log in. Oh, wow. It did a lot of stuff. I want to point out that like it did add a bunch of stuff. Failed. Oh man.
So the reason I was asking about the portal though is I wonder it'd be really cool if we had a way to pipe that back into Copilot, like your runtime context, right? Like like from Aspire, like from the browser console or whatever, right? Like the iOS simulator, whatever it is, like pipe back the runtime context into Copilot to make things better. That would be neat.
Oh, James just did what I do all the time because I do web dev. So I copy errors out of the developer tools and just right back into Copilot. No context. Just here's an error.
We just need to do that automatically for people.
Yeah, I agree.
That's cool.
So we probably could with the preview, the live preview extension in VS Code. The problem with that though is that it's limited, right? Like usually when you're doing web dev, you're in an external browser. So there'd have to be some tie-in. But we have an Edge extension. Like surely that's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Like, I think that totally makes sense as a built-in tool.
Okay, so now it's going through and it's going to, now it has the context. It's like, hey, I have this edit form and the admin products. It'll be fascinating to see if this now kind of fixes it up automatically.
It's like, it would be cool if like you had like as part of this whole agentic session, like it ran the app and then like you click something, it failed, it passed that back in, and like you don't have to copy paste. Although it's nice that it works if you do copy paste.
The problem thing is kind of like the problems variable is a bit of that where you don't have to copy or paste your problem, which is super nice. And then the terminal, if Copilot's so is he okay, so James is executing that himself, but if Copilot actually runs it from agent mode, which I don't think it's had you run any terminal commands.
Not yet.
No, it hasn't.
But if you ask it to start the application, it can it will monitor the output of the thing as it's running.
Yep. I think if you boot it from terminal, if it's actually printing back to the terminal some of these logs, it might not be, by the way, unless you're in a super verbose mode. Then it should be able to iterate on it. That's actually what I do a lot for iOS. When I'm doing iOS dev in VS Code.
Oh, interesting. It might be actually, like I bet if I opened it up, it might.
Let's look, because you're in the debug console view, not actually the terminal output, but like I wonder like what was actually being printed to terminal. Well, we're not running it from terminal, so it's impossible to know, but
no, that's true. Well, there is I was gonna say, like, I bet the debug log, like there's like all the logs from here, right? And then they'd all be coming in automatically. So I bet that error was there.
Is there like a Aspire like CLI thing to print like some of these things back to the console? Because that would be like the magic sauce to get it to work today.
Yeah, I don't know what the password is.
Oh, no. No one ever knows their passwords anymore.
Oh no. Okay.
Should have used a passkey.
I should have used a passkey. Well, it told me before. Let me see what it's doing. Can I just ask it what is the password? ?
Also, I have to go soon, y'all, because I gotta put my kids down for a nap.
Wow.
We've been live streaming an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, we're vibing.
Can I show y'all one thing before we?
Yeah.
So like while this has been going on, I tried to vibe code a game in the background, just like while you were doing this. Y'all want to see what I got so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's incredibly impressive. Right. Go ahead, share my screen, James.
All right, here you go. I'm gonna unshare mine. Bring yours up.
This is amazing.
I mean, this is half the fun, right? Wait, hold on. So the whole thing, I told it to make a game like Doodle Jump, but it's having trouble with the positioning of the initial platform. Sorry about the corgi. I don't know why it decided to. I mean, it kind of works, but I don't know. There you go. That's what I've been doing.
That was pretty good.
Started paying attention.
That's pretty. I mean, this is pretty good. You just vibe coding your way into this, right? Like that's not bad.
Yep. All right.
I'll do one thing here. So like I'll bring up my screen again. So I did do this. I swear I had it working. So I'm gonna switch my branch over here. So I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna switch my branch. I have it here, which is admin AI. So I'm gonna force check out. I'm just gonna get rid of all my files. So inside that GitHub repo that I shared, I did have this application. I did the same thing. So again, it's kind of going back and forth on it. It took me a little bit of time too. I think if I told it to put it all on the same page, it probably would have worked. But
yeah,
I did this the other day. That's why I wanted to kind of like go through in the agent mode. But the agent mode is always changing, right? The models are always changing and stuff are happening all the time. So I was here and I have more stuff running now. So it's going to wait for this to open up. So now let's see if this does it. Okay, so I had the products that we had before, and then I did have an admin page. So this is what it generated for me like 2 days ago, and then login. So it actually did it. This is what it did like a few days ago, which is great. And it did the whole thing automatically for me. So we were really close. I felt like I had the password, and I was asking it the password, and we were right there on the cusp of it because it added all those files. But this is basically what it did for me the other day. So we're so close to getting it there. So. But sometimes you gotta risk it when you're vibe coding, guys.
Well, we've been going for a while. Pierce has got to get the kiddos down. Chat's been with us through all of it. I recognize some folks here from Twitter. Fernando, what's up? How's it going? Rowan, thanks for staying through. Jeremy, we all know Jeremy. Shirley Dev, yeah, that game's not going to Steam. I should just throw it out there though, right? I'll finish up. Anyway, y'all listen. Vibe code something this afternoon. Build something. Yeah. See how it goes. Now you know what we know about agent mode. Thanks for being with us. Thank you, James, for all your clicking. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And thanks for helping me get my commit messages all set up. I'm very happy about it.
All right, Pierce, thank you for being here as well and answering all the questions. We were as honest and forthright as I think we've ever been on this stream, which is nice. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks,
we'll do it again soon. Maybe not. We'll see.
We'll see.
That's it.
We're gonna end the stream.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.